Hey, good morning everybody. Josh DiStefano here, pianist, composer, writer, teacher. And today is week 2 of the Learn to Improvise program. We're going to build on the stuff we did last week and help develop you further to move further down the road in your journey to become master improvisers and improvise without fear. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel, please think about subscribing and bing, 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 ringing that bell. All right, before we move on, we're going to talk about the improviser's mantra. This is what you need to live by. This is going to be your code. And I'm not going to delve into the philosophy of each one of these things. If you want to explain it better, I highly recommend you go back and watch the first Learning to Improvise video I put up. That'll really explain everything. So the first thing is, of course, be fearless. The second thing is there are no right or wrong notes. There is only the strength and the conviction of your ideas. You want to not think. You want to achieve the Zen state with no thinking. You need to leave space. You need to play with good time. Rhythmic accuracy is key to making all notes sound great. And then, of course, tension and release. You need to live by this code. This is your mantra. This is your secret to improvisational success. So last week we talked about the minor blues sound. This week we're going to talk about the major blues sound, where the minor blues sound was dark and bold and, industrial Chicago, Mississippi Delta, that kind of stuff. The major blues sound is a party. It's Mardi Gras floats, New Orleans, everybody's going crazy. It's the sound you hear in country music and jam bands. It's a very bright, happy sound. Great for use on major chords. Great for use on dominant chords. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate major blues sound now. So you've got 1, 2, flat 3, natural 3, 5, 6, and back to the 1. So again, as you're starting to learn this sound and get familiar with it, just noodle around. Preferably over a drone. Give yourself some kind of static tone underneath. And listen to the way the pitches sound. Start draining into your head. This is what the 2 sounds like. This is the 1. This is the 6. The 5, the 6. Flat 3 to 3. Start getting those sounds, not just in your fingers, in your mind. So when you want to hear this, that's flat 3, 3, 5. And again, start fooling around with little ideas around the different notes. Create little motifs. Help one to build ideas and help also to lock it into your mind what each note sounds like. All right, so this week we're going to be developing our motifs further. I'm going to give you more information. If you didn't watch the last week's one, I'll put the stuff up here so you can check it out. Just go ahead and feel free to stop the video and look at that. So as you're making your phrases, this time we're going to start expanding them. We're not going for just short phrases. We're going for longer motifs. One of each to be about a bar long. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can, either start with a small snippet like we did last time, and you can just sort of spell it out. Until it gets longer. You just kind of spin it out until it gets to a longer phrase, and that's fine. Or you can start out with the phrase that's longer. You should be able to do both. All right, so last week when we started developing ideas, we were doing small ideas. You play your little piece, you wait a bar, you play again, you wait a bar, which is great. I mean, that's the building blocks of what we're doing here. But if that's all you ever do, it's going to feel somewhat robotic. Basically Legos. It's very systematic and very formulated, and it doesn't involve a lot of expression. We need to move beyond that. So now we're going to start making the longer lines, and we're going to see if we can eradicate that blockiness. And the way you do that is you create phrases that play over the bar line. So instead of always starting your phrases on beat 1, you start playing them from beat 3 or beat 4, and you don't end on beat 1. You play across the bar line and end somewhere else. And that's a great way to give the music some forward propulsion. And also, it adds a little bit of tension. If you stop on beat 1, it's a release. That's where dooba-dooba-dooba-dooba-doom. It's where things want to end. So that's a release. When you're stopping in other places and you're starting at other places in the bar, that's a way of creating tension. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start exploring the ranges of the instrument. Instead of just playing in that sweet spot, that comfort zone, that octave and a half, 2 octaves right in the middle where everybody wants to play, we're going to push aside from that, and we're going to play out here. If you're playing up in the nosebleed section, it's going to sound vastly different than playing down in the swamps, which is, depending on your instrument, some areas are going to be richer and more pinched or whatever it happens to be. But I really want you to explore those registers. That's great material to be mined. The same phrase played 3 octaves away somewhere else is going to sound very different. So we're going to talk about ending your phrases where you end them. You need to pay attention to the finishing note of your motif. Because if you finish on a chord tone, it's going to sound very, very different than finishing on a non-chord tone. See, here we're ending on the 1. It's very much a release. The 3, also, it's a little tenser than the 1, but still, pretty much I would say a release. That's the 5. Another good chord tone, very much a release. But so if we end something somewhere else, that's ending on the 6. That's a little more tense. It doesn't sound resolved. They're ending it on the 9. Again, it's a non-chord tone, and it's adding a little bit of tension. Another way to develop our motifs and get them across the bar is by creating rhythmic patterns. You take your idea, whatever it is, and you repeat it a few times. You repeat it immediately. You don't wait for it to finish it out. And so what you do is you end up creating this polyrhythm where you are superimposing your own time feel on top of the one that's already there. And it's a really cool effect. And if you do it a few times, it'll stretch you out for a bar or 2 bars. And it helps add some tension and some interest. All right, so here are some rhythmic patterns. I'm going to show you great ways to obscure the bar line as you create your little motifs, and you do them in a way that is not even. So even if you're doing an even number of notes, like I'll do in triplets, it still is not landing in a very block way. It's a good way of sort of bouncing across the bar line and giving your ideas a much more organic flowingness to them. We'll start with a 3-note idea. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so now we're going to move to a 4-note idea, and this is going to be in triplets. So now we'll do the 5-note idea. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we'll do a 6-note idea. Now we'll do the 6-note idea. And there you go. You can see those are some great ways to play across the bar line and develop your motifs. Okay, that should be enough for this week. We're going to work on the major blues sound, getting it in our head, play it with the drone, play it with the blues. You can play it with tunes like St. Thomas. We're going to start to make longer motifs and ideas. We're looking for 3 to 4 beats long. We're spinning them out to make them longer. Again, you develop them every single way you can think of. In addition to our ideas getting longer, we want the space between them to get shorter. So you don't need to leave 2 bars between each idea. You should be leaving 3 or 4 beats between each idea. So we're going to shrink the space between the ideas. We're going to not start our ideas on beat 1, and we're not going to end them on beat 1. And we're going to play across the bar lines. I want you to think about where your ideas are ending. Is it attention or is it release? Is chord tone, non-chord tone? I want you to explore the outer registers of your instrument. Stay away from that sweet spot in the middle and play in those outer registers. After you've done all that, go back and incorporate the stuff we talked about last week. Bring back the minor blues sound. Bring back the short ideas and the longer space, and start mixing them up together. Have fun, make some music, and I'll see you in a week or so.